welcome back to this installment of Voices in Cloth. I'm John Cole Morgan, and I'm joined by the fabulous Coleen. Darling, welcome.
Hi, John.
So,
Hi,
Coleen,
thanks
some people may not know who you are. Tell us a little bit about you and where you come from.
My name's Coleen. I'm from Sedgefield in South Africa. I've been quilting since about 2006. So that's where my quilting journey began.
Tell us a little bit about that, because I love hearing how people start their quilting journeys.
Beatrice Whitehead used to own a shop called Quilt Talk, and a friend of mine told me that I must go and have a look. And when I got there, there were like 1,000 bolts of fabric, and my mind just blew. And she's so encouraging, and she was so she was so eager to show you what's going on. And she taught me how to do hexies, and then we did was running a sampler course, and that's where my journey basically started. I've always had a love for fabric, so this was just like a druggie going to its favorite supplier. Yeah.
In this country, everybody calls me their dealer.
Yes. She really was. And, her shop was one of these places you'd want to go to once a week, because it was like going to visit a friend or going to visit your mom. She was just wonderful. So that's how it all started. A love of fabric and a lovely lady.
Now, do you believe that fabric curatorship and quilting are two very different hobbies?
Yes, definitely. I practice both, but mostly fabric collecting.
I think we all have a bit of that problem.
Yes.
So tell me about, what was your first quilt?
It was a sampler quilt, and it's still not finished because...
No.
Yes, I'm finishing it this year. I was going to send it to a lady to quilt, and she said, it was somebody I knew quite well, and she said to me, that is your quilt that you practice on. So I've basically done hand quilting on it, and I'm now doing a free motion quilting. So everything gets done on that quilt. So a different aspect will be added. And so now I'm in the last part. I must just do my border. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to quilt it. So then it will be finished.
But I think that's really special. What lovely advice that you could quilt it yourself. What a lovely thing to do.
Yes. But I mean, it's been a long time, and it's been a learning process. So it's been good. I've enjoyed it.
What's your best bit about quilting and your quilting journey?
I think my favorite part is more art quilts. I do love a creative, something with meaning, something that's, but it's, I can't say I have one specific love, because I do love, all different quilts. But I like colorful quilts, scrappy quilts, that kind of... Sorry, that's my phone.
Oh my God, that's the best ringtone ever. That is so staying in.
I'll just put it on silence.
You don't need to. I think that's wonderful.
So I love all quilts. I especially love, scrappy quilts like Jen Kingwell quilts and Sarah Filke quilts, all those bright, happy kind of quilts. Yeah.
What's your worst bit about quilting?
The perfection. That whole where a quilt is a perfect quilt, but it hasn't got color, or it hasn't got, sometimes people will save money and not get the right color or the right, they'll use what they've got, and it might just not be the right one. So that's like my thing, is if you're going to spend all that time, it's important to, do your best. And yeah, if that makes any sense.
No, it does. I think that, but many people relate to that as well. So what drew you to the Voices in Cloth series?
I think I've always loved a theme, and Voices in Cloth, to me, it was about making something that would say something. So that for me was...
I may quote you on that, making something that says something. What a beautiful quote.
Yeah, I do always like a quilt to have more of a meaning, something special. Even if it doesn't look, sometimes it'll look strange, but it's got a meaning behind it. And that's the best thing about any quilt, really, is when they show and tell, and then somebody tells you the story of the quilt. That's one of my favorite parts, and you hear the expression and what the whole idea was behind it.
Because this exact series has changed so much since I started doing the interviews, because I just thought it's fine. I'll get 15 minutes of each person, do the interview, pop it out. And I was just trying to do this quick thing because it was such a large number. And I was really focused on getting it finished by a set date. And I'm very glad I didn't, because the more I've spoken to people and the more the stories of each quilt have come out, you learn so much more about the quilter, the quilt, their journey, and I think about people as a whole as well. I think that's it's a very privileged position that I have, that being able to have everybody's voices in my hand, to be able to find a way of getting that out to people. It's very special.
Yes, it is. It is special, and it's been wonderful to actually participate.
Well, I'm so grateful. Tell us a little bit about your piece.
My piece is called Fractured Flight, and it's basically the story of South Africa. And the one side of it's like a butterfly, and the body part is a girl sitting crouched with her. Those are the colors of South Africa, and she's perched on all the things that need to be addressed in our country. And the one wing is beautifully developed, and it's colorful. It's like a rainbow. It's all that's good in our country. The weather, the people, and we've got lots to be that are beautiful. But then on the other side is this really terrible wing that hasn't developed. It's made, and it represents the corruption in our country. 75 people are murdered in our country every day, and so it's all that stuff. I just wish we could actually just have a perfectly developed, beautiful butterfly that can just take flight. But yeah, so that's what the fractured flight is. It's how are we going to fly with this broken wing, yeah.
It's a powerful piece, and I think when people see it, they will understand your message. And I think that talking about it is, I think the only way things change anywhere is if you talk about it and you move forward and try and get it done.
Yes. But the one, it could actually be many different countries, because at the moment there's so all over the world you've got these countries are trying to excel, but there's just this horrible, the ugly side of it, which needs to be addressed. So
I feel, I heard a quote the other day which has really stuck with me. When somebody says something to you and it just sticks with you. And he said to me, he feels that COVID showed everybody how our worlds could end. And it destroyed so much as a society, as a culture, as a world, because we could see how a virus could literally wipe out our freedoms, our ability to move around, our health, our fear, everything was wiped out. And he said he felt like that was the end of the world in many respects. But there's not been something new that's come along to reboot everything. Yeah. And I've always thought that was, since he told me about a month ago, it's rattled around in my brain, because there isn't a new, because that was so devastating and so disruptive to our whole planet on every level. There's not been something that's come along that's actually been of the same magnitude, that's inspired and brought joy and brought a new beginning that will overcome that horribleness. And I feel like everybody's just not floundering, but just stumbling forward, trying to find a better future. I think that with South Africa as well, there's a lot wrong. There is so much wrong. There really is. And I think that, big problems like, how on earth do you fix the electrical supply of an entire country whilst there is so much corruption and sabotage out there? How do you move forward? And it feels impossible, but I always think to myself that it's a case of it's only impossible until somebody does it.
Yes.
And
there's a lot of work that needs to be done, but hopefully once the elections have happened, then we'll see what's left. And then from there, we can all hopefully start building again, because it's time. It's really.
Because South Africa is the most incredible country. It's broken. I'm not minimizing the problems on any level, but we are filled with, is it 60 million people now, of the kindest, most amazing humans you've ever met. They are so welcoming and so engaging and so bloody amazing. And it's just sad that less than 1% of that ruin it for everybody else.
Yeah, that's the part that I find
It's
really
unconscionable.
distressing.
It's unconscionable that that's. But anyway, we're not going to make it a bad thing. I think your piece speaks very well to that because it shows how it could be and how it is. And it just speaks to them how we marry that together to find a better future on it.
That's it. Mm.
Would you
Yeah.
consider yourself a textile artist?
Maybe. I think I do like to work. I like the combination of traditional, or should I say arty with a touch of traditional. I'm not quite I don't build in 3D. I do tend to make a piece, as in a flat piece. That's my favorite, is to express myself with a story. But I'm not a 3D kind of fiber artist, which I really don't. I've tried to work in it. I've made a few pods and things, but they're still very quilty, and so I would consider it maybe more of an art quilt. If the British fiber art is really beautiful, it's got a lot of paper in as well, which I love, like your Cass Holmes and all that stuff. I like that, and Anne Kelly and all those people, but I don't work in these fine, delicate those 3D things that, are quite difficult.
But you found your own voice, which I think is really special because whatever medium you're going to be an artist in, finding your own voice is important and then sticking to that and finding because I think the piece you've just made, it speaks very much of you and what your message is. And, some quilts you look at, the message isn't quite as clear. So I think it speaks volumes.
Thank you. Yeah, I
Who
hope so.
inspires you in the quilting world?
In the beginning, when it was Beatrice Whitehead with the teaching, and I did a few classes with Gret Lombard. She's now lives in New Zealand. She does absolutely amazing work, and she basically gave me permission to not have to be a perfect embroiderer, to stitch into something. And then that was in the beginning. And I would say, your Cass Holmes, your Anne Kelly. I've joined textileartist.org, and I work through some of their programs that they've had. And yes, and I've really enjoyed. So I wouldn't say I've got one specific influence. It's just to learn techniques that I can express myself in. It just, every class you do gives you another layer to add. And that's what I really enjoy doing.
Do you ever make quilts for yourself?
Yes, I do enjoy making quilts. I don't make. I like a quilt that's going to be. I don't like a churned out quilt, one that's just quick, and I like a bit of thought and a bit of interest in it, and as many colors as possible. That's my favorite thing. It's why would I choose 3 fabrics if I could have 300 fabrics, So I love lots of color and little bits everywhere. That's my favorite.
So I'm guessing your stash has got loads of different colors in so that you can do that.
Yes. No, I've been collecting fabric, and I've got them color coded so that I can see which colors I need to have more of. And yes, so and I love a newsprint. For me, newsprint I love to put it in all my quilts, because to me it's quite expressive and it's got a life, which is quite special.
I love that. And for me, I love newsprints, anything with words on it. I think it's really special, but I also love maps. I love
Yes.
maps. Do you think there's anything that makes South African quilters unique to the rest of the world?
I think we're quite traditional, actually very traditional. And I think South Africa misses outside influence. I think we're very much in the 80s and 90s, and we need to move ahead. I don't want, maybe you shouldn't repeat that, but
No, I think no, because I am going to include that. And the reason being is I think you've actually hit the nail on the head. And my next question was going to be, you seem to be connected with these amazing organizations which require Zoom and the internet and desire to find something new. Do you think that the I don't want to say stuck, but the influences are a little dated because people perhaps aren't getting those influences in their homes and in their quilting lives because it's too expensive to have the internet, it's too expensive to have a pad, it's too expensive to do this. Do you think money plays a role in those
I
stick with
think
the things that we know?
I think it's two things. I think it is financial. And I think, now this is very controversial and I don't mean it to be, but there's been this drive to get teachers qualified. And what it's done is it's produced a whole lot of teachers who don't have as much creativity as what there used to be. When I started quilting in 2006, there were a lot of innovative women, and they didn't follow the rules. It was they would do their thing, and they would actually make individual kind of quilts. And what's happened is it's like a cookie cutter. We've produced a whole lot of teachers who've got beautiful perfection, and it's all about the perfect quilt. But there's an element to me that's been lost.
I want to challenge you on that. And the reason is because I think you're completely right. And I'm a new quilter. I've only been doing this for 10 years. I wanted to do the teacher's course, wasn't allowed. I wanted to learn how to do things better. And I have hit so much resistance. So I think that the quilting world, well, maybe I should word this another way. Do you think that there is an element of a resistance to change? That is potentially why a curriculum is involved to create perfect, because if you do something different, there may not be a place for people in that new world. And
I
then the
think
second prong to that, because there was so much innovation and because there was so much new stuff coming out 20, 30 years ago, they were really encouraged by the people that were ahead of them in the game. And do you think perhaps there's an element now where that spontaneity in your work isn't quite as supported as it was back then because it's not perfect?
I think that whole drive for perfection, because some quilting requires that. You know, if you're doing certain styles of quilting, but I don't think it should be um, a prerequisite, or whatever you call it, for somebody to actually to teach, for instance, to not have a teacher because she doesn't know how to do a good corner, you know, when she's putting on the bindings. To me, that's not a reason to exclude a teacher who hasn't done the course, because there's the inside of a quilt will have way more interest and yeah. So I think the perfection, it's really, I think the people in charge, if I can call it that, they all really accomplished quilters. So
Oh, I don't think anybody's going to question the talent of these people. That you're not questioning that on any level at all.
I think it's just been too emphasized. I think it needs to come back to a more spontaneous kind of, you know, everybody seems to make the same things, and it needs a freshness somewhere. And it could be on the way already. It's just, I find in our area, it might not be in other areas. So I don't want to speak, you know, I'm not going to the festival this year. I wish I was, but then you'll see, maybe it'll be, you know, people who are influenced. I think the Good Hope quilters are really, there's a lot of influence, there's a lot of active members.
Participation as well.
Yes. So that's important, because if you're not participating, and a lot of people will come and bring old quilts and things they made 20 years ago, and then it will influence somebody to make the same quilt, and it'll, I don't know. Yeah.
But I think it's that whatever you're raising, I think is a really important point, because there are elements that people will agree with and there are elements people won't agree with. And I just think that whenever there's room for improvement, we all need to listen and we all need to talk, because we don't find a way forward without a communication.
Yes. Yeah.
What do you
I
think's
agree.
next for you? What do you think's next for you in your quilting journey?
What's next at the moment is I'm busy with a few block of the months to brush up on my quilting, my needle turn and my stitching by hand, and yeah. And I'm going to do more. I'm finding that I'm doing more handwork, and quilts that take longer, because then you don't have to worry about not having people will make big quilts, but if you make a big quilt with lots of pieces that's quite difficult. You can work the whole year and you can still be busy. So that's the plan, and to make arty quilts in between. So yes, that's what I plan to do this year.
Well, I hope you'll share them with me on WhatsApp. I can't wait to see your journey. Is there anything that I haven't asked you that you might want to raise?
No, I can't think of anything.
Thank you so much for sharing your journey with us. I really appreciate it, and I can't wait to see what comes next.
Thank you, John, so much, and thank you for all your hard work.
It's an absolute pleasure. Loved every second of it. Anytime I can get time to speak with quilters and learn about their journey, I am in a very happy place.
Oh, that's good.
And that brings us to the end of another installment of our Voices in Cloth program. Thank you so much for joining us. Coleen, look after yourself.
Thank you. Bye.
Catch up with you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye. Hi, my name is Coleen. I'm from Sedgefield in South Africa in the Western Cape. My quilt is called Fractured Flight, and it's the story of South Africa and the good on the one side, the beauty and all the beautiful things of our country. And the fractured wing is the story of the ugly side of South Africa, the 75 murders per day. It might have even gone up by now, for all I know. And the corruption, and there's the poverty and the bad education. So it's basically the story that I wanted to tell in cloth, and it's about our beautiful country and the worn leather, the worn denim at the back is what, for my background I use denim. It's got a beauty of it, even though it's rugged and worn and all that. So even though our country is going through hard things, there is still beauty in it, and it is strong and it is durable. So those are the things that I wanted to show in the quilt.